Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on drug registry. We have about 55 participants as of now. We'll wait for a minute and we will start in 1 minute from now. Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to have this session on the drug registry consultation paper, which we have shortly launched on 2 weeks back, and we have with us Sandeep, who would be doing the proceedings. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you very much, sir. We welcome all the participants for today's session, and we appreciate that you have taken your time today for this session. And before we proceed with the presentation, I would like to tell you that we have structured this session in a way that we are going to have a presentation on drug registry first, and then we'll be having a Q&A session. So this Q&A session will be focusing mainly on the paper, drug registry paper, and we suggest that questions based on the drug registry consultation paper will be discussed during the Q&A session. So before we start the presentation, I would like to share a few housekeeping points with you for the session. All the participants are muted and will not be allowed to share video for the duration of the webinar. And there will be a Q&A session. So we encourage that you try putting your question across using the chat. And if there's anything specific you would like to ask, please raise your hand. We will allow you to speak once the Q&A session starts. And we also expect you to please be concise and target your queries related to the points we have kept in our drug registry consultation paper, which was published on 30th March 22. And if you have any technical challenges joining the session, we would suggest you to please check your internet connection and try to rejoin the session. So now I would like to invite Vikram sir to please start the presentation.
Thank you, Sandeep. And we also have with us Manisha Mantri ma'am from CDAC, who has helped us and who have been helping us prepare this drug registry. We'll do a 15 or 20 minutes presentation on what are the key questions for consultation in this consultation paper. And after that, we can have a Q&A session, as Sandeep had mentioned, and you can all raise your hands and then we can allow you to talk. And in the meanwhile, you can put your questions in the chat box. The basic agenda for this presentation today is that we will give a small overview of what the Ayushman Bharat digital mission is and why is there a need for a drug registry in the mission, as well as its overall importance in the digital health space. How are we going to do this consultation? What is our approach that we have thought of? And we would also discuss the main issues for consultation, and then we can have an open discussion. So the Ayushman Bharat digital mission is a mission which allows exchange of health records in an interoperable way, and it builds on the concept of consent, which is which has been taken from Aadhaar and e-sign and DigiLocker and consent system, followed by different registries like the health professional registry, the healthcare facility registry, and we also have the drug registry, which we are going to talk about. It is an open framework, so any application can integrate with the with ABDM, and we will have an interoperable exchange of health records. This is again another representation of how does the ecosystem work. Health information provider shown on the left hand side is any entity which creates health records, and while suppose you are visiting AIIMS Bhopal and you want to access records that a patient suppose access records of a rural hospital in Karnataka that the patient has visited. So AIIMS Bhopal is the HIP, and HIU on the right hand side is the records that of the rural hospital in Karnataka whose records are required, and in the middle there is a HIECM, the exchange gateway and consent manager, using which if the patient gives consent, then the exchange happens, and over and supporting them the building blocks, which is ABHA, which is a unique identifier for each citizen, and these building blocks that we have talked about. Why is there a need for a drug registry? As has already been mentioned, that we want to create, we thought when we designed ABDM and when we are implementing ABDM, there was a need which was felt in relation to standardizing a lot of issues related to drugs. For example, some digital prescriptions have crocin written on it, some have Calpol written on it. So why don't we have one uniform standardized method of writing drugs, and that is why there is a need for a drug registry that came, and these are other related objectives that have been mentioned. It will also help us to give epidemiological trends as to how a disease is progressing from the consumption data of drugs. What are the benefits to all stakeholders? We believe that if we have a drug registry, we will have higher data transparency, we will have efficient implementation of regulatory activities. We also think that it would be useful in the insurance sector, wherein a lot of medicines are prescribed, and it will help to increase the efficiency of the insurance sector. A lot of things in relation to packages. What is the kind of drug registry that we are imagining? We are imagining the drug registry to act as a single source of truth, as with all the registries. We are contemplating UDC, a unique drug code, to be given for each SKU, stock keeping unit, which we will come to it in a while, so that all the drugs or all the all generic branded drugs are given a code. It is securely accessible to multiple stakeholders through various avenues, meaning thereby that this is completely open. And we have provided, we are contemplating of like all digital goods, this would also be a digital good which would be available in public domain, and it would have open API, so that other products can also integrate over these over the existing drug registry and create products of value. And while doing preliminary research in our preparation for this consultation paper, we have studied systems from these countries, and we have taken the following lessons from these international models. Particularly, the thing is that we think that we should focus on citizen facing problems. What are the problems that the citizen is facing? If he or she is having if he or she is having difficulty in understanding or getting to know whether remdesivir is there and which are other drugs which can be taken, whether the particular drug is safe or not. It also in a lot of countries, a lot of active participation of regulatory bodies are involved. For example, the FDA in the US. Similarly, we have the CDSCO and the state drug controllers, and that is why in our paper we have mentioned that with these regulatory bodies would be actively participating and helping to build a up-to-date drug registry with the latest information. Scope of benefits. As we have mentioned, that it would be open, it would have a linkage with EMR, e-prescription. So if a doctor, say for example, writes acetaminophen or writes paracetamol on the back end, on the back end, the UDC of that drug is available, and we are able to get a standardized information at the end of the day. So this consultation paper, we are doing it after we have already done a preliminary level of internal stakeholder consultation in January and in early 2021, where we have discussed with CDSCO, and with their inputs, we have made this consultation paper available. This is the process for creation of drug registry that is being thought of, that we are planning to do it in 2 stages. First would be to create a drug registry which has a list of all drugs which are sold in India, and a drug code for each drug. And thereafter, there in some countries like Turkey, which has done end-to-end supply chain tracking of all the drugs. That is our stage 2, wherein we can say that if suppose there is one batch of spurious drugs which are found in one location, then immediately we'll be able to get information that this drug has also been provided to other locations and they can be recalled. So this is the version 2 that we are thinking of, wherein it is possible to digitally track drugs so that counterfeit drugs and spurious drugs can be tackled. But this is our stage 2. What are the components of the drug code schema or the drug registry? As we have already mentioned that it would be have a UDC for each drug, and we are analyzing, we are contemplating that we will use SNOMED City as the standard to provide the UDC, and we are taking help of, we have proposing that we will take help of CDAC to undertake this task, because they are the nodal, NRCES under CDAC is the nodal agency for doing that. And the first, let me come to the 3 or 4 main issues for consultation. The first issue is this, is that we are basing our drug registry in this fashion, wherein what happens is that whenever any drug that is there, that data is entered into something called as the DIAT, which is the Drug Information Authoring Tool, which has been built by CDAC. It is functional, and which has the ability to provide a unique code to each drug. And thereafter, when there is this whenever thereafter, when the unique drug code is provided to the drug, then after some verification or self-certification, which we will come to a bit in the next slide, after that data is pushed to NHA, which hosts that drug registry or the drug database, and also make it available to external stakeholders. It would also have a citizen facing interface, and all tech companies can integrate with drug registry. This is what we have mentioned, but we have proposed in our drug registry, and we have sought consultation that if there is any other good way of building this drug registry, you can please tell us. We just wanted to build up on what was existing already, and CDAC having built this DIAT appeared to us a very good choice. What are the drug attributes that should be there in the drug registry? So these are some of the attributes wherein we have written that drug-drug interactions, contraindications, adverse drug reactions. Some are Schedule H drugs, some are Schedule G drugs. Some drugs are national list of essential, are in the national list of essential medicines that can be put, so that a user is aware of what the drug he or she is taking. Interestingly, and we have not taken pricing as an attribute in drugs, in the drug attributes, primarily for the reason that these prices are constantly updated. They keep increasing, they keep decreasing, and might have trade related implications. So we in this stage we are not proposing to have them. But if you think that there are any other drug attributes that should be considered, please feel free to give your comments and on the same. The third and the most, I think this is the most important question that we are contemplating, how to build this registry. And the way that we have thought about in building this registry is through various identified data sources. There are various portals like the Sugam portal, which is run by CDESCO. We have some databases of the state drug control organizations, and we have various manufacturers or importers and hospitals and various companies who would have data of drugs. So what we are proposing is that any entity can put their put the related drug data into the DIAT, and after that is put, the DIAT provides a unique drug code to the drug registry, and thereafter that data is pushed to our drug registry, and then we push it to all the data users. So the main reason for going through the self-certification process instead of the verification process is the capacity of various regulators. Various regulators had mentioned to us that if we go to the self-certification method, then it would be a good way of rapidly populating the drug registry, and we are enabling digital signatures so that whoever is entering data undertakes responsibility that whatever data that is entered is correct. And through digital signatures, if we find that there is some problem, then we will invoke the laws of the land, and we will take action. Of course, there are risks with this self-certification approach, and that is why in this consultation paper we strongly recommend all of you to give comments and suggestions as to what are the things that we should keep in mind to populate this registry if we use the self-certification method. If we have the verification, if we have a construct wherein only the verified medicines are displayed in the drug registry, we would have a lot of medicines which are stuck at verifications owing to the capacity of drug regulatory authorities. So this is one way in which we have thought about it, but we are open to suggestions and comments on this. This is the second most important consultation paper, is that if suppose we create a drug registry, what are the checks and balance we have, and what would be a good way to keep this drug registry up to date. And what we have suggested is that we will have an annual update in like the status of the certification in self certification, and also if there is a change in drug name, we will make a new entry. If there is a suspension of a drug, then we will mark that drug as suspended. And this is our strategy of making it up to keeping it up to date. But of course, what should be the timelines of, or what should be the time period of keeping these updates, or is this the proposed approach correct or not? Is there any other approach that you can tell us? Please feel free, and we are open to discussion on that. uh, there are I think a number of questions in our drug registry, but these are the main questions that we were thinking, and we would request all participants to please go through the full text, provide us comments, and you share your feedback with us. We can now have uh, the Q&A session, and also wanted to mention that this is not the first time that we are releasing consultation papers. NHA has been in this system of taking feedback from all stakeholders, which is very unlike of a lot of government bodies, but we have been very benefited on from feedbacks on on these 4 consultation papers that we have released, and we look forward to similar comments on this paper. I would hand it over to Sandeep for starting the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
And like we have very vocal audience today, and we have received many questions which we have answered. So like I would like to specifically mention few questions which we have received from one of the participant named Supriya Kotra Prabhakar, if I am naming it correctly. How do we ensure unique records entries to the self-certified registry deduplication logic? So I believe Manisha ma'am can answer on that.
Manisha ma'am.
Yes, every drug will be given a unique code based on the different parameters that were provided in the presentation. So the NRCS, which is supported by our Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, does already work on development of common drug codes for India. So those becomes base for the drug registry, and all of those unique attributes will be considered for coding, and in no case a duplicate code will be provided to any of the drugs.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope we are able to answer your question. And we have another set of questions received from Sonali Digeji. She's asking like if safety information is available to patient, can it lead to unnecessary stress due to incomplete understanding? Will drug indication also be added? And if drug indication are to be added, will the indication approval be in a uniform format like ICD-10?
So part of it we can answer, and part of it if Manisha ma'am wants to take. So this we have mentioned that these problems of self substitution and potential risks due to all information available in public domain due to the drug registry. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a risk that is there, but we would want to make it very what you say. Make it transparent and put it in easy language over there, so that user can make choices and get to know updated as well as authentic information about the drug registry. Manisha ma'am, you want to add to that ICD-10 thing?
Yes, so the indications that will be provided as part of drug registry would be mostly the textual information, but when they are captured in electronic health record, they can be captured in standardized format using clinical terminologies like SNOMED City, and for reporting purposes using the coding system like ICD-10.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and in this regard, you can, like, maybe I will ask Sandeep or just Vinder to also put the link of the US drug registry in the chat box. It has also been mentioned in our consultation paper to have a look at what we are contemplating, or how does that drug registry look, so that it will give give an idea of how we are also thinking about that. Additionally, as I mentioned, it's a tough question, and if you have any comments on how do we mitigate this risk of self-substitution, please feel free to write to us in the comments.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Mr. Santosh Shiv. So, sir, would you like to elaborate? I will just unmute you.
Mr. Santosh, you can unmute yourself and ask. What is his name, Santosh?
Yeah, I've just unmuted you. Santosh, sir, can you please speak?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. One of my concern is when different stakeholders are populating the input data. So how do we ensure uniformity? Because when we give that authority to populate for different stakeholders, the information which they input could be different from an insurance perspective, insurer perspective, or a healthcare provider perspective, or a pharmaceutical company perspective. That was one of my concerns. If you could elaborate on that, it would be helpful.
So I can answer in very brief, and then Manisha ma'am can answer how it happens in the DIAT exactly. But one way to ensure that standardization is that the fields in which the information is collected, that format is the same. For example, license date, license number, name of the drug. So, and also like if we have the date, then it would be taken in DDMMYY only. So by putting a uniformity in, like collecting the form while data of a drug is collected, would ensure uniformity. And you want to add to it, Manisha ma'am?
So yes, sir. Just to add to sir's point is all the data that is taken in DIAT is standardized. So all the different fields and attributes, including manufacturer, the name of the drug, the different dose forms, whatever are the attributes which are used for creating a unique drug code, are being standardized, and they are referred in the similar format. So there is no ambiguity or no different ways of entering data that is possible. The DIAT tool takes care of that.
Okay. To add to it, I just wanted to know if an hospital or a healthcare provider wishes to enter the data, would they be requiring any additional training? Because most of the data on standardized format, I think pharmaceutical companies and from regulatory perspective, they would be well trained or equipped to enter the data. Whereas for a healthcare provider, who is thinking from a patient perspective, they may not have all the data if they want to input the data. So that's what one of my concerns.
I think that's a very useful comment, and we would again, I'll push the question back to you, Santosh ji.
Yes.
How do we create like this question, that how do we make it easy for drugs to be entered? How do we do training? And one of the most important question that comes is, what are the incentives that we have for various stakeholders to put the data in the drug registry, and what are the incentives that we can think of to keep the data updated? So yeah, both the things are very crucial, and we would require your inputs and suggestions this
Thank you, sir. To this, I will add, I think involvement of Department of Pharmacology and clinical pharmacologists, and pharmacy institutes, and other on all those stakeholders would be a way forward, so that they have training and requisite training in understanding and providing valid and accurate and unbiased information when it comes to drugs. So involvement of all those key figures would be a way forward, I would think. Thank you.
Thank you, Santoshji.
Thank you, sir. We have another participant, Pranjal Pandit, would like to speak, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. My question was about the phasing out of drugs. So let's say that there is a drug already registered, and let's say that case 1 where an enhanced formula is available, or case 2 where either from US FDA or somewhere there is something, the information comes that this drug is supposed to be discontinued. So what would be the course of action in both of these two scenarios?
So one of the slide that we had is that, of course, there was a question as to whether we will make available these slides in public domain. Of course, we will do that on our webpage, and also this recording is all on our webpage. But just to tell you again that we had a slide wherein we imagined that whenever there is some change in, like the drug is suspended or revoked, we would mark that as mark that status on the drug registry. We are also thinking as to how do we keep, suppose there is a drug and there is something called as the yellow book in the UK system of drug registry, wherein what happens is that if suppose I am a user of a drug and I find that, oh, this drug is causing a lot of nausea, I can probably, they have a mechanism wherein you can give your comments on that on that drug. So we are also thinking as to how do we activate that mechanism. But potentially the thing is that if there are 1500 comments in one single day or for each drugs, what would be our mechanism to give attention to each one of them? But yeah, this is an important issue, and we would again, as I mentioned, request your suggestions as to how we can keep it updated. And if there is anything, if there is any other regulator, or if there is any other information out there, if there is a research paper which says ki nimulicide creates a lot of issues, then there should be some mechanism of it to be flagged in the drug registry. Manisha, you want to add to that?
No, actually, what you are saying is right. Over the time, the different ways of updating data and taking input from users may be explored in future.
Thank you, sir. Now we have another question from Ma'am Rachna Rohila. Use of off-label and herbal drugs, how drug registry will take care of it?
What is the question?
The question is use of off-label drugs and herbal drugs, how drug registry will take care of it?
So
can we have I'll ask her to speak basically.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm unmuting you. Please elaborate your question, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So my concern was in the prescriptions, many of the drugs are used as off-label. So probably some of the drugs that are not approved in India, but they are approved somewhere else, but they are or they are in market for some other condition, but they are used off-labelly by the prescribers, including the doctors and the healthcare prescribers. So how we will standardize the procedure of registering and giving the unique ID to these drugs? And also the patients, they use herbal drugs and other Ayurvedic or Ayush drugs concomitantly. So the drug registry provides a unique ID to that also, or they are the left out part or the gray area?
So we, in our consultation paper, we have mentioned that it is this drug registry is for all systems of medicine. We have also mentioned that importers can also publish the data on, can also put their data in drug registry. But I would pass on to Manisha ma'am whether those drugs which do not have licenses in India, how are we providing codes to them in the DIAT?
So, sir, I think the approach that the drugs, those are not approved in India, ideally should not be part of drug registry. It depends on what is the status of approval of those drugs at different authorities like CDSCO for usage in the country. As soon as those are available for usage in the country and can be prescribed by the care providers, those needs to be added basically.
Yeah, but Rachna ma'am, if there is any way in which you think that we can do it, um, keeping checks and balance, as Manisha ma'am mentioned, that what if that drug, if we have a system wherein an unapproved drug is put in our system, then it can lead to a lot of complications, particularly for drugs. But if having said that, if you think of a mechanism to like incorporate those drugs also, then please feel free to like write to us in the consultation paper comments.
So I'll give an example of the compassionate use of the drugs. So, for example, the drug is in the trial for some of the serious conditions, and some of the healthcare provider want to use it for compassionate use and then import it by the proper process from DCGI. And so the unique ID will be given to that also. Secondly, for example, the use of remdesivir earlier, it was not approved in India, and it was a repurposed drug. Later on, it was given the emergency use authorization for COVID-19 management. So these are some of the examples I have in mind right now. So how the drug registry will take care of such unusual things?
Yeah, I mean, I'll again push the question to you, that how can we do that? Yeah. Next question.
Thank you.
We have few hands raised here, so I'll take up Deepika Sarafji first. I'll unmute you, please. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Please speak.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but your voice is very low. Like it's not very clear. Hello. Yeah, please continue.
So here I say that any drug which has not received approval from CDSCO should not be registry. Ideally, that should be the course taken by the National Health Authority. And if there is an emergency use authorization, then it would be mentioned for. Even during COVID, we did get emergency use authorization only then. Being part of ICMR, so it has to be approved by the CDSCO when it goes into the drug registry, in my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, this is all. This is our understanding also, that it has to have some approval before it is reflected on the reflected to the public.
Yeah, I think we should take that approach only, very clear approach, because otherwise it will create a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And compassionate use and a clinical trial is entirely different.
Yeah.
Different. It is a very different category and very rare category. Special permissions are taken, and so under special permission.
Yeah. And to add to that, that those cases, even if they are not covered by drug registry, they can be prescribed by physicians, and they can be taken. So something not being present in the drug registry does not preclude treatment, I think.
Absolutely. It is, one can take the consent from the patient and then one can give it. It is just a matter of consent.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have another few hands raised here. I would like to call Mr. Sharad Goswami. Sir, please.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
First of all, thank you to the NHA team for this consultation. We really appreciate the approach and look forward to participating through our written remarks as well. My question was on one of the attributes, which is the patent status or the IP status of a drug. If we are listing drugs not just by the molecule name, but also by brand name and manufacturer, then this will be a very important attribute that we must capture in this database, so that it is adequately clear if a particular drug has been given patent by the government of India and is therefore proprietary to one manufacturer. This will also ensure that there is no confusion amongst the various stakeholders who will rely on this list for their procurement and for their usage. And as such, I believe amongst other stakeholders, Controller General Patent would be an important stakeholder to also enlist as a part of the regulatory system to monitor this list.
Thank you for your comments, and we will include patent controller as one of the stakeholder. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have Dr. Praveen Kumar. Dr. Praveen Kumar.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. So it's kind of question and response. So just wanted to know that if a drug is manufactured into pharmaceutical company, so they should enter the first-hand data and create the UDC codes. And as and when that drug is getting supplied, and other person, whether it's a hospital, medical store, anywhere they are trying to create the code, first they should search that name and then only it should be allowed to create. So where the chance would come to create any of the duplications or false information regarding that drug.
Manisha ma'am.
Yes, what you're saying is correct. That's what is the expected plan for the future. No, beforehand, first we have to cover all the existing drugs, and as soon as a new drug comes in, then it has to be the information of that drug has to be provided in diet tool, so that a UDC is created and no duplicacy happening, and the information is available as quick as possible. That's what is the approach. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
But just to add to what you said, Dr. Praveen, the concept that is there in our paper is that we don't want to limit our drug registry population getting populated only to like 5 stakeholders. The number of stakeholders, suppose it is a company which is into health tech, or which is into distribution of drugs. If suppose that company wants to undertake the population of drug registry, in spite of it not being the manufacturer, it has data, and since it has data and it has the relevant details, the same can be uploaded. So that is why we have made the stakeholder base as broad as possible.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, sir. But see, any of the drug would go for the approval. So at the time of approval, only if a code is created, then there will not be any chance to again code creation for that particular drug. And I feel in any system of medicine, whether it's a modern system of medicine or IUS, everywhere there are approval agencies, approval authorities are there for drug approval. So it could be like, since from the government side only we can put mandatory that if any of the drug is getting approved, then a UDC code also to be assigned agent bank. Similar way, the ICD-10 coding and everything happens. SNOMED, LINC, ICD, all are maintained that way.
Yes. In fact, this point also reminds me of the fact that there is something called as the Sugam portal of CDSCO, which provides approval. And moving forward, this CDSCO portal would be like integrated with the DIAT. And as and when a drug is approved, immediately that code is allotted to that drug. But also, what about the drugs which have already been approved? So we also have to think about those drugs. And
yeah, up to we'll get the entire completion, then up to that time we should allow. But as a going forward course, I think all the drugs should be assigned the codes then and there itself.
This is what we are also thinking in that we are also thinking in the same direction as you are suggesting.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now we have Mr. Kamlesh Patel. Mr. Kamlesh Patel.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so half of the query is already resolved by the discussion with the last two participants. Only just a suggestion is that from a stakeholder point of view, there are a number of companies which are having a huge database, including molecule that break up in SKU, the stock keeping unit, as well as the brand name and company. So if you look at into the AVAX or IQVIA and even SMRC and CMARC, all data, they have a huge database. So that they should also be a part of this entire drug registry, because they are much more advanced in terms of collecting the data. So that is one part. And second part is that when it comes to approved drug, either it is a CDSO based one or maybe state FDA approved. Ideally, first that list should be updated in such a way as per your attributes, and then the coding should start from there. So once it is done, then the exercise would be a much easier with the help of pharma industry people, as well as from those I have named that IQVIA, SMRC, CMARC, and AVAX. It will be much easier to reconcile, and we will have a one uniform database, which is very unique to Indian one.
Yeah, part of it I can respond, and I think that's a very useful question, useful comment, and followed by Manisha ma'am can also add, just to add that in the present consultation paper, we have, as I mentioned, allowed for anybody, I mean, even stakeholders like the companies you mentioned, to contribute to the drug registry. That construct is already there, and Manisha ma'am, you want to add to that?
No, I think we covered in last two questions itself. We do plan to have a process for assigning a drug code. Slowly over the time, the information from Sugam portal will also automatically fetched in diet tool, and then a code will be created with the multiple levels of verification happening in the tool. So that a uniform and a seamless process is being planned for creation of drug codes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Keyur Parekh. Sir, please. Mr. Parekh.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Very good afternoon. And first of all, thank you very much for this consultation program. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I have two questions. One, as one of my colleagues did spoke about, saying that only the drugs which have been approved by CDSCO should really be part of this registry. There are a lot of drugs which have been approved by the state FDA after the 4 years of the 4 years of the new product definitions that we call in India. So what will happen to those drugs? And the sub part of that question is, the responsibility lies with the manufacturer to upload the manufacturing license number. But what if there are errors in that? And second part of my question is, we have been talking about clubbing all the brands.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you.
Sure.
Can you please repeat your question?
So my question is, as one of our colleagues spoke about, that the drugs that have been approved by the CDSCO should be the part of the registry. There are a lot of drugs that have been approved by the respective state FDAs after the 4 years definition of the new product that India has it. It's been over. From the drug that has been approved in India, till the 4 years, it's a CDSCO responsibility to approve it. After the 4 years, it's a respective state FDA that can approve it. So while how we will integrate those databases with the respective state FDAs, because a couple of state FDAs does not maintain the websites with approved manufacturer's license on a particular drug. Secondly, how will we understand the genuinity of those manufacturing license? Because we have been creating a registry which will be open to all stakeholders.
I'm sorry, in between our additional CEO came and I was not able to get the question. Manisha ma'am, would you want to respond to that if you can?
Sir, the question is, what if there are errors in providing license number of drugs by the manufacturer? So, as of now, what I understand is it is expected that manufacturers will provide all the information and self-certify that the information is correct. And even if, because of human nature, if there are errors, then there is a edit mechanism that is provided in drug registry, that is explained by Vikram sir earlier in the slide, that you can have the different versions with the change that can be reflected in the drug registries, along with the reason why this change is there. So that mechanism is there, of course. And what was the first question? If I could not understand the first question again.
So well, the question is, if at all somebody has to really counter check whether this drug has been counterfeit or a genuine license provided by the state FDA, how we will verify that? Because most of the state FDA does not maintain, like the CDCO maintains the approved drug list, but most of the state FDA does not maintain them on their websites.
Right. So then there are all these stakeholders, whoever are there in this approving process, comes in place some of the other places in this drug registry. Most probably, if you have any suggestions, you can put them as part of your comments in the consultation paper, if that is
Sure,
okay.
we'll do that. Sure, we'll do that.
Yeah.
For sure, we'll do that. And second part of my question is, ma'am, because we did mention the registries which are being used by Turkish authorities or the US authorities or some part of the European authorities, but they have a central agency which has a strong regulatory criteria for approving each drug, and bioequivalence is one of the major. So how will we ensure that while we have been creating a registry, every quality that the drugs has been listed, or the brand which has been listed in the registry has been promising the same quality that most of the countries follow?
As far as the drug information authoring tool is concerned, the tool follows multi-level verification and validation process. So it's just not that a data entry happens and a drug code gets created. There will be multiple levels of verification happening in the tool itself, where even the members from pharmacopoeia background, pharmacology background, will be participating for reviewing and validating. So that the technical part of validation will be taken care in the diet tool as far as possible. If it is about the administrative process of authorities giving approvals, maybe you can suggest your comments on the consultation paper.
Manish ma'am, what I was been referring was very different. I'm saying that while we have been populating a registry, a molecule will have a multiple brands featuring for the same molecule. And the registries what we have been using as a reference, like US or European countries, have a stringent criteria of approving a drug through a mechanism of a regulatory pathway, be it a bioequivalence or be it a CT, depending on the nature of the product. How we will ensure that the registry that we have been populating are been promising the same or a good equal quality from all the manufacturers. In the absence of this, because the power we are also, the registry is also accessible to all the stakeholders, including the pharmacies. There might be, as one of our colleagues was talking about, self-substitution or a substitution led by the pharmacist.
I can just respond to that, that this problem of like quality of drugs already exists in the present ecosystem, right? We have a lot of portals which would say like there are companies where websites where you can find substitutes, and if you go to a pharmacy shop also, they say that this drug is there, can you give me another drug if it is not there? So of course these are like the problems of the ecosystem, and even if there is no drug registry, it would still be there. Having said that, making all this information available on a government website is potentially risky also, and we do understand that, but the question is that how do we mitigate those risks, and how do we mitigate those risks? We would need your suggestion. So we have like we would require your comments and suggestions as to how do we improve that.
So sure, sir. I would say we will put forward our recommendation and suggestions in our your consultation sections. But these are the two questions from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We have Dr. Pramod Jacob.
Can the participants also introduce themselves so that we also have an understanding of the people whom we were able to reach and know more about the participants?
So I was Keyur Parekh from Zydus Cadila.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Dr. Pramod here. Yeah, I'm Dr. Pramod Jacob, and in fact, I am part of a company which has actually built our own drug database, which we have, of course, now about over 100,000 drugs in that, including the drug interaction and so on. One aspect I would really like to sort of advocate for is, I noticed that you had mentioned that pricing of the drugs is not one of the attributes you're looking at because of the fact that, the pricing may change. I would strongly recommend that you all please include pricing, even if it is not the latest. Because if you sit with consultants, especially in rural, semi-rural, or low-cost care consultancies, you will find that this pricing is one of the most important factors for selection of a given drug or prescription, right? We all know that one of the reasons why more than 6,000 Indians get below the poverty line is because of, in fact, purchasing of drugs and the pricing, even if it is not the latest, because the variation of a hypertensive drug can be for the same, say lisinopril. I can buy a lisinopril for 50 from 5 rupees all the way to 25, 30 rupees for a given pill. So I would highly advocate, even if we don't have the latest pricing, at least a thumb rule pricing comparison will be possible, which is a very important aspect that we need if you want to have this drug registry really utilized by end users. I will only say that. There's a lot more I can say, but I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestions. And of course, there is a recent study of the Competition Commission of India, which had also mentioned that there is 40x difference between two drugs which are of the same molecule. So this pricing information we had not proposed to be included, and we mentioned the reasons for the same, but we welcome your comment, and we would again reconsider it. And also I want to say that there are other government bodies who are specifically looking at pricing related information, and other pharma related bodies. Since we are contemplating an open architecture of the drug registry, we can make that information available to those authorities also, and they can maybe also put in pricing information. But point well taken that a lot of
related, I'll just give you feedback. I give you feedback. When we were designing our ordering systems in our EMR, EHR, one of the first demands most of the doctors asked is, show me the stock of the drug and show me the pricing of the drugs. These are two things I want to see at the time of when I'm ordering the drug, the brand of the drug. These are two things they really demanded, and we had to bring it into our systems. So I feel it is that important. Just a feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a few questions from Mr. Rajesh Kumar T. So we would like Mr. Rajesh to please like unmute yourself and speak up your points, please. And please give your introduction as well, sir. Mr. Rajesh Kumar T. Sir? Okay.
Mr. Rajesh, are you able to hear us? Can you please unmute and speak? Yeah, he's doing that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Rajesh.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
This is regarding inclusion of medical devices into drug registry. As per the definition of drug from DNC Act, the drug includes formulations as well as medical devices. From the year 2020, all medical devices used on animals and human beings have been classified as medical devices. We feel since the drug definition includes drugs as well as medical devices, and medical devices is being controlled by are licensed by CDSCO itself, I feel medical devices to be included as well. And one more thing is that there is no exhaustive list of medical devices imported or manufactured in India is available as on date. This would enable, since medical devices being used at home, the number of medical devices being used at home is increasing. I think this registry would encompass medical devices also would be a suggestion.
The both are very useful comments, Rajesh Ji. Can you, if you have time at your hand, can you also send those written comments? But we have taken note of your verbal comments also, and we would incorporate in our paper.
From National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, we will definitely write that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One more thing, sir, can I continue?
Sure.
With respect to pricing aspect, we have heard that pricing has not been taken as a attribute for drug registry. We at National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority regulate prices of NLEM drugs, and NLEM drugs price gets fixed once in a year, and the companies are given an option to alter their MRP based on the changed ceiling price in the month of April. Since this price is amenable for change only once in a year, I think it would be a valuable attribute if you include this into a drug registry.
Yes. This is again a meaningful input. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have another hand raised here, Mr. Kaustav Chatterjee. please unmute and please introduce yourself.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Kaustubh Chatterjee. I lead the digital health ecosystem at NASSCOM. And first of all, we are very excited to be part of this session. This is really the way forward. And we have a couple of questions on the IT side. The first one is on cybersecurity. So we do believe holistic cybersecurity for the entire HIE stack will be very important, primarily to prevent data breach and fraud, right? So what is NHS plan in terms of creating a PPP model to ensure comprehensive protection of the entire drug registry RT architecture? That's one. And second, on the same line, we probably need to invest on a data lake that needs to be built, managed, and monitored on near real time. So how is NHA going to leverage data analytics to visualize data entry at a state level?
I can answer at a 25,000 feet level. Is that there are various registries that the National Health Authority is creating. It is the ABHA registry, the Health Professional Registry, Health Facility Registry, and Drug Registry would be another registry. And we have given utmost importance to the data security here at NHA, where data is kept in encrypted format and in a secure way. In relation to the second point as to how do we plan to leverage the leverage data analytics and make meaningful use of the drug related prescriptions.
Yep.
The answer to that is that we are preparing an anonymization and aggregation policy wherein we would collect aggregated data, like how many paracetamols were distributed or were sold in a particular geography. And there are a lot of interesting data that can be culled out from that can be aggregated from various prescriptions. But present lacuna is that we do not have an aggregation and anonymization as well as data analytical policy in place. Once these policies are in place, we want to have a credible policy with and a lot of personal data is involved. So we would have to have that consent framework, and only after those systems in place, we will like to leverage the data analytics front. As of now, in the immediate focus, we don't plan to analyze the data that is collected until unless we have a strong framework of privacy in place.
Sure. So just a follow-up comment on that. So on behalf of NASSCOM, we all are working towards creating a formal written response for NHS drug registry proposal. We are going through the consultation paper rigorously right now. And, the policy team at NASSCOM will reach out to NHA soon, and we will share a written response on various attributes that we discussed today.
We look forward to your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have another comment from Mr. Hari Pranav K. It's basically related to the privacy by design. It's similar to what we have just discussed. So, Mr. Pranav, would you like to elaborate what your point is? Mr. Hari Pranav K. Yeah.
And please introduce yourself, Mr. Hari Pranav.
Good evening. I'm Hari Pranav. I'm from Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance. So the question was with regards to from a technology point of view, while how are we going to firstly, India is yet to have a detailed privacy law. So it has just released a draft personal data protection bill in 2019, but we are yet to hear from that. And so how are we going to ensure that all these laws are also in place while we design an ecosystem like this? And second is with regards to ensuring data integrity. How do we ensure that the data integrity is maintained in an interoperable ecosystem like this?
So in relation to that, the discussions on PDP bill are already at advanced stages, and we hear that this bill may come anytime soon. But NHA also has a health data management policy, which is the HDM policy, which has been approved by the Honorable Health and Family Minister, which we follow. But having said that, we also are keeping close watch on the legal developments, and we would not do anything until and unless proper safeguards are in place. So data analysis and all, we don't plan to do it in the immediate time. We will do it only after proper policies for the same are in place. The second question was in relation to can you please say that again? Your second point, data integrity, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So how do we ensure that data is obviously we have this self-certification process wherein we would take certification from each stakeholder about the information that has been kept. Manisha ma'am has already mentioned that we would collect information in standardized formats. We would want feedback from you also, that how we can further streamline that process. Manisha ma'am, you want to add anything to that?
No, sir.
Yeah, I mean, anything that Hari, you think that would help improve data integrity, we would be happy to incorporate it.
Definitely, I think we'll put that in our comments as well.
Yeah, and also I want to mention that our additional CEO would also give some give closing remarks. So he had mentioned that I can invite him when the session is towards the close. So if we can have some more questions, and if you would want to hear the closing remarks wherein he gives again a very a big picture of the drug registry, we can wait till that time. So we can have questions, and then I can ask him to come and speak. So if there are any more questions.
I request the participants to please raise your hands if your questions are not answered yet. Although we have tried replying to you through a chat as well as through live conversation, but still, if you have anything specific which has not been answered, please raise your hand. Okay, we have Mr. Navneet Singh. Please, sir, proceed.
And introduce yourself as well, Mr. Navneet.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Navneet Tewatia. I'm from Indian Pharmaceuticals Alliance, IPA. So my question is, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting us and giving the opportunity to give our comments. And this will be actually very good for the country, for patients, for industry. My question is very simple. It's regarding the OTC drugs. Will the over-the-counter drugs also be included? Because I heard that someone was asking about the Schedule H drugs and the category of different drugs. So will the OTC drugs be treated differently? Because the primary purpose of making a drug OTC is to facilitate the access and to make it available over the counter without the prescription. Thank you.
So Manisha ma'am can add to that, but my point is that even if the drug is an OTC drug, it has to be approved by the regulatory authorities. So once it is approved, a unique code can be given to it, and it can definitely come in our drug registry. Manisha ma'am, you want to add?
Yes, OTC drugs will also be covered. Yes.
Thank you very much to all the participants. Now we have our Mission Director, ABDM, and Additional Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Praveen Gedam, with us. And we request sir to please give closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all the colleagues from other departments of government also to join, particularly CDAC. And thanks to the pharma industry and other stakeholders for joining for this very important stakeholder discussion. As you may be aware that we are implementing the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, earlier known as National Digital Health Mission, and registries are very important component here. And we already have 3 registries which are operational and live: the registry of patient, doctor, and hospitals. That is facilities which include pharmacies. And drug is the next registry, the most complicated one, because of the inherent nature of the whole pharma sector. And this paper has been released after consultation with government agencies, FDA, CDASCO, it's a Department of Pharma, Ministry of Health, and so on. And we will try to incorporate all the suggestions coming from the industry players, and also from those who may not be in the industry, but they may be in other areas such as academics or even citizen groups also, so that a common database or a single source of truth for drugs is made available, which can then help better performance of all the other apps or solutions which get integrated with this dynamic registry. So thank you once again for participation in this particular discussion, and we look forward to working continuously with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. And we would like to request all the participants to please forward your suggestions and feedback through our ABDM website. The link is already provided and to you through emails. And we will also be uploading the copy of this presentation, and you can go through it. And please, we'll be waiting for your feedbacks and suggestions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. ठीक है.